Welcome back to another video. Bradford City have recalled Jake Young from his loan at Swindon. Time, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. It's absolutely huge. Now, it's probably bigger than it seems because we've been waiting for it, we've been anticipating. But Jake Young will be back in a current number shirt since his good run started, since the first game he played, he scored. Now, it doesn't mean that he is going to be at Bradford City for eternity now. We could still sell him this window and I wouldn't be completely against it. Now, would you? Let me know in the comments down below. Would you be completely against Jake Young going at all? But if we get the right amount of money, I'd 100% take that for me, because when you look at Harry Lewis in the summer, if Barnsley offered a good amount of money, I'd have took it. You know, if it's in the hundreds of thousands, you do that and you put in a few clauses like we did with Wells and McBurney, and then you can profit from that with years to come as well. So if the right amount comes in, what's the right amount for Jake Young? I'm not really sure with the markets. I'd be guessing, you know, and maybe my valuation's probably somewhat closer to what a FIFA valuation was, or an EFC 24, whatever you want to call it. 500 to grand to £1 million. Probably it won't be any more than £1 million. You're dreaming if it's any more than that. But I've read somewhere as well. I think this is just a rumour by one of those stupid in the know accounts saying that Rotherham are putting a £275,000 bid. I think it was definitely in the 200,000, which I wouldn't accept. You know, I've said sort of over 500 grand I'd be considering, and it should be somewhere around that range for me, because he scored 16 goals at Swindon. The quality and the quantity of goals that he scored, but when you look at the goals, I mean, he's got the ability of a number 9. He's a real poacher. He can score scrappy goals, and he's in the right areas at the right time, and he's the first to react to everything in the box. Who's the one to react? It's always Jake Young. He's hopping about and he's waiting for that ball to bounce, and he goes towards it. So he's got that presence of a striker that you need, but he's got the ability of a number 10 or number 7. You know, he can play as that attacking midfielder. He can come off from the left. He's got the pace. He's got the dribbling ability. He's got a good pass on him. He's quite tidy with his play, and he can, in and around that area, he can score absolute bangers. You know, he's got a belting strike on him, and he's had a few chances where he's got one-on-one with his man. Swindon have countered, and he's one-on-one. He's jinking and jiving, and he's ended up going on his left and had a powerful strike into the back of the net. And that shows his ability and his confidence to get one-on-one with his man, beat him, and then have a brilliant strike on his weaker foot. And he's got that confidence about him to do that, and the quality. And that's something that we don't have. He's a sharp shooter. He'll get the ball, and he's got his back to goal, swivels, turns, shoots, and it goes flying in. And that's what we don't have. We don't have a player in that sort of area who's not afraid to have a strike. He gets out his feet and he shoots, and it flies in the back of the net, and that's what we haven't had for years. But Young promised that. He promised that before he played a game for us, that that's the type of player he is. But then he delivered it. He scored some banging goals for us as well last season in 2022 at the beginning of that year. I think it was Walsall or Crewe in August, scored a brilliant goal like the ones he's been scoring at Swindon. Back to goal, span, got his shot off, lovely finish. We didn't have faith in him, we didn't have trust in him to give him winner games, and I fell into a trap of back the manager. You know, the manager wants to get rid of him, back him. If he don't think Jake Young's good enough, then you know, we'll get rid of him. And I'd probably do the same if Alexander said that about a player. Even if it were Gilead, who's probably one of my favourite players. Even if it were you know, Kevin Kelly, Andy Cook, Harry Lewis, whoever it is, if the manager don't want him, you've got to get rid of him. Or you get rid of the manager, and the players aren't bigger than the club, but the manager should be bigger than the players, and then the club's bigger than the manager. So that's how the hierarchy should go. And for me, if Hughes didn't want Young, you've got to get rid of him. But the problem with Hughes was, towards the end, we saw arrogance in his interviews. We saw him being too calm and relaxed about situations, and he angered the fans with his demeanour. And then Jake Young's scoring nearly 20 goals for Swindon in the first 6 months, and he's banging brilliant strikes in. So that doesn't help Hughes either. So I think you've got to recall him, and I'm really excited for what Young can do, because like I said, he's got the ability of a 9, a 10 and a 7. he operates in that sort of area. He can stretch the defence and run beyond the striker, but he can pick up those pockets behind the striker as well, and it can cause defenses a lot of trouble. So I can't wait for him. And if we just signed him for a couple $100,000, we'd be jumping up and down. You know, the ceiling would be coming off your house. You know, you'd be ecstatic bringing in a player like him. So he's got to start against Crawley. He's already scored 4 goals against them this season at Swindon. He knows their areas of weakness, and if someone's already got a good record against them, they've got to play. Does he suit our system? For me, he definitely does. I think Swindon were playing the same formation as us, if not. No, they weren't. They were playing a 5 at back, I'm pretty sure. It were 3-4-3, like, not too dissimilar to the 1-2 played at Chelsea. That's what I always think of with that formation, when the wingers are 10s and they get into those pockets and, you know, they create more chances by being narrow, whereas we play a 5-3-2, if you like, with the 2 number 8s, and that's what he needs support from, because if he ain't having Dan Kemp, who's been supplying him with brilliant chances, then he needs your Gileads, your Walkers, your Pattisons to be creating those chances and linking up and getting in and around him and getting that partnership and relationship that he had with Dan Kemp. Because I don't think he'll have any trouble with Cook. I think Cook's a very similar player to Austin and Anfield for defenders. He isn't similar to Young, quite the opposite player. And you know, he'll be waiting for balls in and around him to link up with him. But then he needs someone to supply him with chances in behind the defence, in those pockets, for him to link up with him. So Walker is a big player that we'll miss, and we need him back as soon as possible. Same with Pattison, he's a sick note. So the key player we need to be bringing in for me is that number 8 who can support Jake Young. For me, that's exactly what we need. But he's a big character, plays with a smile on his face, comes across as a great lad. Now, I don't like saying those 2 things, because for me, you could easily say that about Harry Lewis, and he hasn't backed that up this season. He did last season, we all loved him for it. But this season, you need to back it up, and that's what Young's doing. But maybe with Young coming back, it might spark a bit of confidence in Harry Lewis, because I'm sure there were mates in that early part of last season, and I'm sure Jake Young were part of the coffee club. So maybe that's making a return. What we need to do as a fan base, we just need to back him. We need to get behind him, and we will, because we made it pretty clear that we were behind him. It wasn't us who wanted to get rid of him. It was obviously Hughes, and we've always backed him. And you know, the social media, if he's been keeping track of it, not only at Swindon but also at Barrow, and when we loaned him out to Barrow the first time, when we signed him, the goals he scored for us, you know, it's always been very positive for Jake Young. So I'm sure he's seen that and knows that, you know, the fans have always been behind him, no matter what's happened, because he's the type of player that Bradford fans want to see in that attacking area. You know, you've got your Gileads, your Kellys, you know, who get stuck in, who give 110% every game, who will really resonate with the fans at the minute. Kelly more so at the minute, because he's only just come in the team and he's showing that. But Gileads for a long time, and that always resonates with the fans when you've got a player who puts that passion in. But then in the forward lines, you want a player who's not afraid to have a shot from 20-30 yards and gets the fans going by having a shot and just getting the ball with his feet, taking a player on, getting you on the edge of your feet, getting you on the edge of your seat and getting you off your seat, you know, because it hasn't happened a lot, and we don't have those fearless players who back it up with goals as well. You can have all the attributes, but you've got to back it up, and that's what he's been doing at Swindon. So I'm delighted that he's been recalled. I'm delighted to say we've got a forward line of Smith, who's got double figures in all competitions, Andy Cook, I think 11 to 14 goals he scored this season already. Very good return. He's in double figures, and we've got the league's second top goal scorer, I'm pretty sure, behind Langstaff. That front three now have about 30 goals, have at least 30 goals between them, and I think that's more. Is that more than the club scored already this season in the league? I know I'm adding Smith's all competitions, but yeah, actually, 1 minute. Well, we've scored 31 goals this season. That front three has more than 31 goals in all competitions, so that can only help. But Graham Alexander, he's got to get his arm around him, he's got to protect him, but he's also got to get the best out of him and get him in a system that suits Jake Young like he has at Swindon. And I'm sure he will, because he seems very pragmatic that way with his thinking of getting the best out of every player and making it work in a system that ticks. And I'm sure when you've got someone who's got 16 goals, not quite 61, but when he's got 16 goals, you've got to make sure you get him in the right system, and he's got to be playing. And I'm sure he'll recognise that, and I'm sure he will get the best out of him and Andy Cook together, because that's what you've got to do. If we want to reach the playoffs or the top three, which is a long way away, but if we can get in and around those playoff spots this season, you've got to make sure you get the best out of Young and Cook, and I'm sure we will. So let me know your thoughts on Jake Young being recalled in the comments down below. It's obviously a big one. It's obviously one that we've been anticipating and expecting, but it's happened now. What are your thoughts on accepting a fee for him? I think if he plays on Saturday at any point, he can't then go unless they loan him back to us, or he goes back to Swindon or something like that, because I think he can only play for a club. I think he can only play for 2 clubs in a season. And obviously, if he plays for City at any point this season, he's played for 2. So if someone signs him, the likelihood is it'd be a loan back to us or Swindon. Otherwise, it won't make sense. He's not playing for 6 months. But like I say, I've said, for the right amount of fee, for the right money, I'd accept it, because it gets more money into the club and gets that budget up and free space for more areas, and for more areas, not just on the playing pitch either. So I think that makes sense. But obviously, you want to get the best out of Jake Young. But you might disagree, so let me know in the comments down below. Would you accept any fee, or is he completely unsellable this season and you wait until the summer to see if he continues his run? Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new. All the support is massively appreciated. Have a good one.